Hello everyone in YouTube land. My name is Krishan Swan and I am from the beautiful Bahamas. It is important to have faith in your walk with God, a faith that can move mountains. Psalms 37 verse 23 speaks about the Lord ordering the steps of a righteous man. The Lord cannot order your steps unless you are willing to follow his instructions. Let us look at 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 24, which says, "Faithful is he who calls you, for he will also do it." I truly believe God will honor your steps when you do his will. I can tell of so many times in my own life where I chose to step out on faith. As time went by, it got easier to step out on faith and trust God despite any circumstances surrounding me in the natural. After I lost my job as a casino dealer due to the pandemic, I lost my husband, my home, the backing of my family, and went to Florida with my son to visit an old friend. God found out that he was married again, so he could only keep us at his house for so long. Moved on to Mississippi to visit a friend I made at the hospital where my son was born in 2016. Once she found out I was not going to be able to bring in any income to her home, she switched on us. I packed up our things to move, did not know where we would or could go, but God made a way. I called the same taxi driver that brought us to her apartment from the airport. That taxi driver and a pastor who was also driving a taxi brought us food and paid for a hotel room for us until I could get assistance from the US government, because we could not simply return home because we got in America on one-way tickets. We ended up spending 2 months at a shelter for them and their children. They helped us out tremendously, but could not keep us any longer and introduced us to a Christian ministry. It has a thrift store. The people living at the ministry were recovering drug addicts. The plan was for us to work without getting paid, and we would have daily devotions for a short period of time each day. The women and children lived in a separate home from the men. The women worked in a thrift store while 2 women watched our children. We were not allowed to use painkillers, and as I arrived, I realized I needed to remove a wisdom tooth, and I was in a lot of pain, so I ran 2 days later, but had to return. 2 months later, I ran into another major problem and took off with my son. I managed to get some money from my sister through MoneyGram, and the first shelter we stayed at assisted us with tickets on a Greyhound bus. The bus arrived in Alabama late on a very cold winter's night. The shelter I thought would take us in there could no longer take us. The director of the ministry had Child Protective Services pursuing me to take my son away, and I suspect she alerted shelters of our situation. As I realized how much trouble we were in, I fell apart, and the owner of the shop we were in gave us snacks. A man offered $20, and a female minister decided to take us home with her. We eventually got return tickets. We eventually got assistance from the friend in Florida that we visited when the journey began a year earlier. After being on a roller coaster of employment, I made it into Atlantis Casino in February 2024 as a table game supervisor, only to be fired unfairly after only being employed there for 2 months. I stepped out on crazy faith again and became the first former Atlantis Casino employee to challenge their managers in 2 courts in the Bahamas with no earthly lawyer. God is my lawyer, and he is currently working it all out in my favor, and he can do the same for you. Thank you for listening. If you are interested in more of my content, please subscribe to my YouTube channel And see you next time here on YouTube. Stay safe.